Achilles. His name alone conjures images of an unbeatable warrior, a hero whose very presence on the battlefield struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. But beyond the myth of invincibility lies a tale far more complex and human. Born of a mortal king and a sea goddess, Achilles was destined for greatness. Yet from the moment of his birth, a shadow loomed over his life, a prophecy that foretold both his glory and his downfall. From his extraordinary training under the wise centaur Chiron to the fateful moment when he chose eternal glory over a long life, Achilles' journey is a story of triumph, rage, and inevitable tragedy. And in the end, it was not a god or a mighty warrior that brought him down, but a single, fatal weakness. Today we delve into the life of Achilles, exploring how the greatest hero of the Trojan War was shaped by destiny, and how a seemingly small vulnerability led to his ultimate demise. Achilles was no ordinary mortal. He was born from the union of two vastly different worlds. His father, Peleus, was a mortal king of the Myrmidons, known for his bravery and leadership. His mother, however, was Thetis, a sea nymph and one of the 50 Nereids, daughters of the ancient sea god Nereus. This divine connection placed Achilles in a unique position, half human, half god, with a potential for greatness that few could rival. But this union didn't come without complications. Thetis, knowing that her son would be mortal and therefore vulnerable, sought to protect him in the only way she knew how. According to the most famous version of the myth, she dipped Achilles in the river Styx, whose waters were said to grant invincibility. Every part of Achilles' body was submerged in the river, except for the heel by which Thetis held him. This small, untouched part of his body would later become his greatest vulnerability, the infamous Achilles heel. From birth, Achilles was destined for extraordinary things, but his dual heritage also meant he was forever caught between two worlds. The mortal side of him would always be subject to the limitations and sufferings of humanity, while his divine lineage imbued him with unparalleled strength and speed. This combination made him both a powerful warrior and a tragic figure, constantly driven by the desire to achieve eternal glory, knowing full well the cost it would bring. Achilles' path to becoming the greatest warrior of his time didn't happen by chance. His extraordinary talents were honed through rigorous training and the guidance of one of the wisest beings in Greek mythology, the centaur Chiron. Unlike other centaurs, who were often depicted as wild and unruly, Chiron was known for his wisdom, kindness, and mastery of the arts and sciences. He was the mentor of many heroes, but perhaps none as famous as Achilles. From a young age, Achilles was sent to live with Chiron on Mount Pelion. There, he was taught not only the art of war, but also a wide array of other skills. Chiron believed that a true hero needed to be more than just a skilled fighter. He needed to be a leader, a healer, and a thinker. Under Chiron's tutelage, Achilles learned medicine, music, hunting, and the ways of the natural world. He was trained to be quick with both his mind and his body, mastering the art of strategy as well as the physical prowess needed to execute it. Chiron's influence on Achilles was profound. He instilled in the young warrior a deep sense of duty and honor, but also a fierce independence and a tendency towards pride, a trait that would later play a crucial role in Achilles' story. Chiron also imparted the knowledge of Achilles' own mortality, a fact that was always at the back of the young hero's mind, shaping his actions and decisions. But it wasn't just Chiron who shaped Achilles' development. Thetis, his divine mother, also played a significant role. She provided him with divine armor crafted by Hephaestus, the god of the forge, and constantly sought to protect him from the dangers that his mortal life would inevitably bring. Yet despite all her efforts, she couldn't shield him from the fate that awaited him. Achilles was destined to be a warrior, and a warrior's path is fraught with peril. This unique blend of mortal education and divine intervention created a hero unlike any other. Achilles was not just a product of his time, but a figure shaped by the very forces of the universe, destined to achieve greatness, and yet, paradoxically, always on the brink of tragedy. The warrior that emerged from this education was not only unmatched on the battlefield, but also deeply aware of the weight of his destiny. A hero who fought not just for victory, but for a legacy that would outlast his brief, blazing life. From the moment of his birth, Achilles' life was overshadowed by a prophecy that would shape his destiny. The fates had decreed that Achilles would face a stark choice. He could live a long and peaceful life, but one that would be forgotten by history, or he could achieve eternal glory on the battlefield, but at the cost of a young and violent death. This prophecy haunted Achilles throughout his life, influencing his every decision and driving him toward the pursuit of greatness, regardless of the cost. This prophecy was not just a foretelling of events, but a reflection of Achilles' very nature. As the son of a goddess, Achilles was imbued with a deep-seated desire for immortality, not through endless life, but through undying fame. He wanted his name to echo through the ages, to be remembered as the greatest warrior who ever lived. This ambition, however, came with a terrible price, a price that Achilles was fully aware of and ultimately accepted. The shadow of this prophecy loomed large during the Trojan War, where Achilles' choices continually brought him closer to his fated end. Before the war even began, Achilles was hidden away by his mother Thetis, who tried to protect him from the foreseen doom. She disguised him as a girl and sent him to live among the daughters of King Lycomedes on the island of Skyros. But the pull of destiny was too strong to resist. Odysseus, the clever king of Ithaca, discovered Achilles' true identity by offering gifts more suited to a warrior than to a young maiden: armor and weapons. Achilles could not help but reveal himself, drawn irresistibly to the tools of war, and with that, he embraced his fate. Achilles' legend was truly forged during the Trojan War, where his prowess on the battlefield became the stuff of myth. From the moment he arrived, Achilles was unstoppable, cutting down Trojan warriors with ease and striking fear into the heart of the enemy. His most famous confrontation was with Hector, the noble Trojan prince and the greatest warrior on the opposing side. Driven by grief and rage after the death of his closest companion, Patroclus, who was killed by Hector, Achilles sought vengeance. Their duel outside the walls of Troy was epic, with Achilles emerging victorious, brutally slaying Hector and then desecrating his body by dragging it behind his chariot. This act, driven by overwhelming emotion, showed both the power and the darker side of Achilles. His wrath knew no bounds. But Achilles was not just a brutal warrior. He was also a tragic figure. His relentless pursuit of honor and glory led him to great victories, but also deep losses. The death of Patroclus, whom he loved dearly, marked a turning point in the war and in Achilles' own life, pushing him further down the path to his inevitable fate. Even in his triumphs, the shadow of his prophecy loomed large, reminding him, and us, that his time was limited. Achilles was the greatest hero of the Trojan War, but he was also a man torn between his mortal emotions and his desire for immortal fame. Achilles' story, like all great tragedies, ends with his death, an event as famous as his life. Despite his near invincibility, Achilles' fate was sealed by his one vulnerability, his heel. During the final days of the Trojan War, Achilles was struck down by an arrow shot by Paris, guided by Apollo, which found its mark in that single weak spot. The greatest warrior of Greece fell not in glorious combat, but through a seemingly small and ignoble wound. Yet Achilles' death was not the end of his influence. His legacy endured long after his fall, immortalized in the tales of poets and the hearts of warriors. Achilles became the very embodiment of heroism and the tragic consequences of a life driven by the pursuit of eternal glory. His story serves as a reminder that even the greatest heroes are not invincible, and that their legacies are often shaped as much by their flaws as by their strengths. In the end, Achilles achieved what he desired most. His name has been remembered throughout history, echoing across the ages as the quintessential hero, forever entwined with the very concept of glory and tragedy. Achilles' life is a story of contrasts, divine and mortal, glory and tragedy, strength and vulnerability. He was a hero who lived fully aware of his destiny, driven by an insatiable desire for eternal fame, even at the cost of his own life. From his miraculous birth and rigorous training to his legendary feats in the Trojan War and his inevitable downfall, Achilles' journey is one of the most compelling in all of mythology. But beyond the epic battles and the tales of invincibility, Achilles reminds us of the human condition, the struggle between our aspirations and our limitations. His story, while ancient, resonates even today, showing us that the pursuit of greatness often comes with a price, and that our vulnerabilities, though they may lead to our downfall, are also what make us truly human. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life of Achilles. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Greek mythology, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our future explorations. And as always, let me know in the comments which myth or hero you'd like to see next. Until then, keep seeking the stories that shape our world.